Howdy, my beautifuls. So I wanted to read you something that I had written towards the end of April, and it's just kind of weird. It was funny. It was a moment, and it's grass as a metaphor. Now you wouldn't really think of grass in any other way other than let's clip this or smoke it or something. You know what I mean? Um, like people just don't think about grass, man. So I wrote while walking downtown yesterday, and this is April 26th that I had written this. While visiting in upstate New York, I passed by my old high school, which had just had the lawn mowed. Instantly, I thought to myself, this sweet smell of fresh cut grass. It smells so clean and fresh and wonderful, truly one of the greatest things in life to smell. It just puts a huge, huge smile upon my heart, not just my face, and fills me with such bliss. Whenever I'm having a bad moment, like we all do, we can always count on the glorious wonder of passing by someone who's just cut the grass and everything seems like wonderful all over again. You're like, you know? My second thought was, how sad. How horrible am I to find such pleasure deep within myself to smell fresh cut grass? For it is, after all, the smell of the gases it creates while in its state of death and decay that produces such a smell. It's true, dude. Not bad. And I wondered, does this make me a sick individual? While I don't care very much for the smell of death and decay, trust me, it reeks. When it's dealt with anything else, really, such as a human or animal, I do love the smell of fresh cut grass. Throughout the rest of my walk, I was in deep thought, like serious meditation. I meditate like 24 hours a day, dude. In which I wanted so much to understand within myself of where this comes from and why would I enjoy such a thing. I thought to myself, what is grass along the path of human experience, along the path of human life? Grass is much more than the green stuff that grows and gets mowed. Or smoked, whatever you want to do, dude. Yeah. And, just go about the day not giving much thought to anything more about this green stuff in which many areas are still brown and in some areas they don't even have grass. Now, I used to love walking barefoot upon it, having tumors in my left foot, which now makes it kind of difficult to walk, let alone barefooted as I once did. And I have stated in a previous episode here that I would love to go to Wayne's house and walk barefoot, and along the beach there at Wayne's house and in Maui, you know, but I have tumors in my foot, dude. Like, come on. And what I came to think in my walk and ponder of was that it's a manifested form of creation, as I know, but much more than this. I know I'm now going to understand it to be much more than this, and there's the thoughts that I came to along my journey yesterday, which was back in April, and it's now August, right? Um, Grass is much like the humans living on God's green earth, so to speak. Much like humans, there's so many individual blades of grass covering one area at a glance like humans in the area of life. Your small town has people to that of large cities holding even more people, all a sea of. And unless its name is given to each, it's just a mass of people, or in the context of grass, a mass of green, a sea of so many individual blades, each holding life and their own struggles. When we think of each holding life, we can look at it as though each individual plant is like a family, going about each day and going about its day, just trying to survive for one another and to do its own idealized part to help as a whole. Each plant being in the grand circle of life's creation doesn't ask for much out of this world, but to do it on its own part and to just simply be. In respects to what it can teach us as humans, is that while we are nameless in a sea of faces amongst the crowd full of other beings, we are but one individual trying to do our own thing. If left unharmed or unhindered, we are free to grow and flourish, which can do so much for our communities and our surroundings, and thus have an even larger impact of good for our life and those around us. The plant, or grass, contains individual blades we rake and take for granted, yet still the grass grows and just does not demand in return. It does not take it out on its neighbors if no one gave it recognition for its daily deeds, and it just simply is allowed to be. If we as humans are simply allowed to be and do our own thing with encouragement rather than discouragement, we would be allowed to flourish and grow into such wondrous beings free of all of life's cares. And in that state, we would surely accomplish so much. When we demand of others to give us recognition we so crave, we tend to find we're nowhere in our quest. Yet if we remain as true as grass, we walk all over, and as humble, then we would surely be happy, for we're not asking of, demanding of, and unhappy over things we may never actually achieve within our lives. The grass doesn't care if there is enough, for there is always enough. The grass doesn't care if it gets a promotion when someone else, we view as less deserving, is the one who actually received, nor does the grass take it out on anyone when the day just seems to be less than what we wish, or when people don't do or say or even think the way we see fit for our lives. Yet as humans, we do tend to do these things. The grass just wants to be left alone with the abundance of life-giving necessities given and just be. Yet as humans, we believe if it is too wild and free, we must cut it down. For it is no longer good if wild and carefree, as though it has to be tamed in order to be presentable. In its humbleness, it is an individual. It has no individual name other than the mere blade of a larger source of. It's grass. As a manifested form of God's creation in the sea of no names, happy to just live and just be. True contentment at its finest, and what a fine example it truly is. So, I believe we can all learn from grass. Dude, don't sweat the small stuff. Am I right? So whether you're sitting upon it within meditation, walking all over it, grass doesn't care. We could really learn a lot from grass as human beings. And I just couldn't even begin, and I've tried, to explain all of what has come to me over the last couple of months since writing this about how true it is that we as humans really should be looking at grass in a whole nother way. Now, I have said about, mowing it, and well, it helps if you sit down and you're a crappy human being, or you need to sit down and meditate and your life's just, your brain's going, dude. Sit down and smoke it, but meditate upon it. Learn from it. Because really, in the end, grass can teach you a whole lot more about being a human than most human beings can ever teach you about being a human, let alone about grass. Now, one of the things we're going to get into, we're just barely touching the surface in this show, right? Because, dude, I have so much to cover. The quantum mechanics of things, and with how we relate to things. Now, did you know, and this is not something I've written down, this is just going off my memory, dude. We as humans have the same genetic makeup as grass. I believe it's either 95 or 98%, an exact match to grass. So everything that I've said, like you're the same particles, don't argue with me when I use the word particles. We contain the same elements, if you wish, if that's more pleasing to your mind, as everything, right down to grass on our planet, to the stars in our solar system, and the ocean. I can't wait to go back to the ocean. Dude, I love LA, man. And I'm so glad that I'm one of those messed up people in the head that listen to God. Because I actually wrote like a year ago, I just kept getting this thing. God's telling me, we're going to be taken out of drought. And that's living in California, right? California is in a drought for years. Soon. Don't worry. And I'm like, but I don't want to have mudslides and, let's just be gentle about it. But please, God, just take us out of, drought. And God's all like, just chill out, dude. I got you. We got this. We got it covered. And what happens? Lo and behold, not even a year later. Literally, not even a year later. And if literally is not the right context of that word, because we all use it in a very wrong sense. But, really, dude, when it comes down to it, God told me to just chill out, relax, post it up, dude. Let people know what I've said. And I don't mean to use this word in a negative fashion, but like a retard, you know what I mean? Like 80s sense, not medical sense. I actually posted it up. And the whole time I'm like, dude, what if I posted that up and like all these people are like, wow, man, you're messed up. And then later on in life, 20 years later, we're still in drought, But what happens? Not even a year later, dude. And we're out of drought in California. Southern California is out of drought. All because I had the crazy little sense within me to sit down and listen to the voice within me. And we all know who that voice is. I'm also going to cover and get into and everything other things that I haven't even mentioned yet, like alchemy. Even my coach thinks that that would be a good subject to cover and how we all relate and correspond. And, really, I've got so much to cover, dude. But while I've been doing the last couple of episodes here, dealing with the Tao Te Ching and speaking on, land and water and, go with the stream, go with the flow of consciousness and all of that, right? I'm like, dude, we're talking about land right about now, So let me just go back just for a quick mad little minute and post this up. Because I really think grass is pretty rad, dude. Like, I really think we can all learn a whole lot more than we realize before we even think. It's just mind blowing what you can learn from grass before you even think. And then when you sit down and think, and then you start looking things up about the genetics of grass, it blows your mind. But then I also grew up a stoner and I would sit there and look at my hands like, dude, I'm not moving my hands, man. Like, what's making my hands move? And isn't that so cool? Like, my hand is moving, My bad. But I pondered, you know, when other people just don't bother to try. And for me, I want to learn from things as simple as grass and how to be a better human being. And when we have, I think it was actually 98% the same genetics as grass, not 95. I think it was 98. And I'll go back and do another one when we cover things like alchemy and blah blah blah, right? When I get later on down the road, I will actually go back and reference this and tell you the exact number and all about grass and how we are genetically more or less like 98% or even 95, whichever one you want to say, the same genetic makeup as grass. It's pretty mind-blowing. And that's just grass, dude. There's so much more on our planet that we take for granted, and we are basically the same exact genetic makeup. And if you have a moment, whether you're sitting down with a glass of wine at the end of the night, or you're like smoking something, and you think about it, it tells you a whole lot more than that. Which is a little creepy. It's a little weird. Because so am I, dude. So, on this little tidbit about grass, think about this and what I just said for a little bit. And maybe if you know where it comes from, you can answer my question. Am I messed up? Because I love the smell of fresh cut grass. Though it is actually the smell that you're smelling, its own death and decay. The gases that is being produced within its decay is the smell of fresh cut grass. So does that make me messed up in the head because I like the smell of the death and decay of grass? And what does that say about me as a human being, dude? Like, maybe you can help me figure that out because I'm not really sure at this moment if I can. And maybe later on down the road I would be able to. I'm just not sure. Who knows, dude? Yeah. So I love you. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. I hope you just enjoyed this little tidbit, and this little tangent. And I'll talk at you later, baby. Namaste.